Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about how does call tracking work, why call tracking always is going to make you more money, except for some rare instances. But practically speaking, always pretty much applies universally. You're running ad campaigns online and more than 10% of your leads / sales, even for an e-commerce business, if we're talking about sales that occur offline, if 10% or more are coming through offline, or if you're generating leads at all and accept calls at your business, you're always going to make more money doing call tracking for your business. And probably not the way that you think call tracking works. And why can I say that? Because I audit ad campaigns and businesses all day long at my main business here at Guaranteed PPC. And I understand how most people think call tracking works and how it's set up. Even for people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on ads, they still don't understand how call tracking works. At least as far as person calls and using that information to decide how well a campaign works and to actually improve it the right, correct way. Furthermore, to track the sales that come through phone calls and getting that to guide their ads. Because call tracking, more than just being a way to track that you're making more money or how much more money you're making, because that's nice and all, that's 1% of the value you get out of call tracking. The other 99% comes from the systems that you're using, whether you're running Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, the algorithm that drives how much results you're getting, and and how your ads should show up in the future to get you more business is all predicated on conversion data. And when you only have part of your conversion data coming into your account because you're not tracking calls, you're only going to get part of the results. Why settle for part of the results on any ad money that you're spending and all the work you're doing to deliver your products and services when you could have it all with a tiny bit more work and a tiny bit more cost in your business just by getting the call tracking set up the way that I'm talking about in today's video. And I will talk about how to actually set it up legitimately, not the way 80% of people think call tracking could and should work for their business to get the value out of so-called call tracking. The way most people think call tracking works in their businesses, again, I know because I audit campaigns all the time here at our ad agency. People think that the user sees a phone number on a mobile device, the user clicks the number, and that's so-called call tracking. Right away poses a problem because people don't click phone numbers on desktop devices usually, unless they have a phone software on their computer. So practically speaking, it's only now going to track mobile calls, whereas the desktop calls don't even get counted, which I don't still to this day why people settle for that. Because you don't have to be a genius to know that only tracks half your calls. But 80% of people are going to think call tracking is that, or user sees a phone number on your website and then calls it, with that phone number on your website being a static phone number that's just put on the website, i.e. you go ahead and go to a call tracking provider like Callrail, like Call Tracking Metrics. You get yourself a call tracking number that you can put on your website so that when somebody calls that number, you know somebody called, okay? Which is not going to give you the information you need to guide your campaigns with. It's only going to give you information primarily to know if somebody called or not so you can judge how profitable a campaign is. So therefore you're not getting the 99% of value that call tracking actually provides, which is better results from your ads on an ongoing basis because you have the extra information that is able to guide the ad algorithms that drive the ads on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Google at the highest level possible. The static call tracking here that I'm talking about is the way what call tracking was for decades. If you used to run, and still to this day, of course, billboards or do a direct mail where you're sending postcards or whatnot, this traditional form of call tracking, the static call tracking where you get the call tracking number from the call tracking provider, you stick it on your postcard, you would now have a place where you can log in and see out of your postcards that you dropped in the mail, how many calls you got so you can effectively judge what your return on investment was, not only just from the number of calls, but the recording of the calls that came in. So you can then listen to the calls and presumably see how many sales came in, sales revenue that you got from that. Divide that by your ad spend or marketing cost of what it costs to drop those postcards in the mail or whatnot there, and get your ultimate effective ROI from that mail piece or from that billboard or whatnot, okay? But in the world of online advertising, the way things are today, if you're going to actually run ads on Google, actually run ads on Facebook in particular, okay, but also including LinkedIn and some of these other ad networks, okay? Call tracking, you're getting 1% of the value doing things in terms of call tracking the way that I just described by itself. This doesn't work well the way that I talked about, the way that 80% of people think call tracking is and how it works. What you want instead is something called dynamic call tracking, which what you do is you have a phone number put on your website for each unique person that comes to your website. And I do mean each unique person. What you do is you end up with a pool of phone numbers so that you can do that. And the more traffic you have coming to your website, the more numbers you need. But essentially, the reason why you do this, the way that I'm just describing, a lot of people don't understand why you need this. And I really got to drill it in there with people that reach out to us at our agencies. They understand why you need it this way and only this way. That is, if somebody comes to your website, then you have a second person that comes to your website. How do you know if there's the second person that comes to your website, that when the second person who came to the website calls, how do you distinguish that second person from the first person who visited the website that were on the website at the same time? You can't, effectively. Even if you have some dynamic code on your website that tracks the time when somebody was on your website and the time that they called, technically people think you could put those two together. That only works as long as there's only one person on the website at one time. Because there's not usually only one person on the website at one time. What you actually have to have is a unique phone number that shows up for every unique person on the site when there's subsequent or simultaneous users on the website at any given time. So you have this pool of numbers. Usually like 4 or 5 numbers will work for most small businesses, so that if there's 4 people on the site at the same time, they all get their own unique number, so that when somebody calls, the call tracking provider that you are working with, we recommend Callrail. That's what we use every time because it's the most reliable one out there. And the one I would recommend you use as well. You know, they see a call coming through from XYZ number. They know the last time somebody on your website got shown that number. They know the time when they saw the call come in from that number, and they can match up the timestamp from the time the call came in and the person that saw that number at that same time to determine what that user typed in as far as a keyword originally to get to your website, what ad they clicked on to get to your website, what medium that they came from, organic or paid, what campaign they came on, if it came from a campaign itself, not like an organic click or from social media, organic social media that is, the source being like Google, Bing, Facebook, whatever the source traffic was as well. This is all information you pick up once and only if you are using this dynamic form of call tracking that allows you to have different numbers for people that are on the website if there's more than one person on the website at a time. You put a piece of what they call JavaScript code on your website. The JavaScript code, basically the way it works is there's a phone number that, so you have your 4 numbers that'll service up to 4 people on the website at one time. The user downloads your website. There's a number that they download by default that's on your website for real. And then what this JavaScript code that you put on your website as well will basically search for the phone number on the person's screen and then replace it with one of the tracking numbers. So that tracking number is not even on your website per se, and it's not. What the code does is it takes the phone number that's on the website and replaces it with one of your 4 tracking numbers. And the reason why it does that is because otherwise, without doing that, it can't actually tell if it should show that one number or the second or the third or the fourth number. What it does is it says, okay, here's your 4 numbers. What number that should we look for on the website to replace? And you give it that number, and then when the user downloads your web page or your landing page or whatnot, this JavaScript code that's on your web page will look for that number, and anytime or any instance of that number it finds on your website or landing page, it will replace with one of the 4 tracking numbers. It'll typically only replace it with that first tracking number in the line. And if the second person's on the site before the first person leaves, that second number in your pool of 4 numbers will be shown. And when the person leaves, of course, that number will be put back in the available pool, and that just keeps going. Ultimately, if the person calls, then that call will be logged in your call tracking system with the call recording, saying the time that the call came in with the recording, and all this other meta information about where they came from along with it, because it understands which number was shown to each person that was on the site at the same time, and therefore it can pick up the source information from the user. Otherwise, it couldn't distinguish one user from the other, if that makes sense. So with that said, if you're using Callrail or another call tracking provider like it, which are, again, call tracking metrics would be the second most recommended one I would have. Sometimes you can't use that. Sometimes you can't use Callrail internationally, and we'll use call tracking metrics as the second best option. Callrail will link up with your Google Analytics 4 account, with your Google Ads account, with your Facebook account. When a call comes in, it's not just there in your dashboard to review the source of where that call came from, i.e. what information about that user can you glean, such as the source of the traffic, the keyword they originally typed in, and so forth. That information can then be passed to your ad accounts, which is the main point of even doing call tracking in the first place, to get the other 99% of the value out of it, so that you as a user can do some hand optimization of your account. So you can basically say, okay, well, this keyword isn't really producing any calls, or should I say the calls it is producing isn't producing enough sales. I'll get rid of that, but I'll keep this keyword, and so on and so forth, or this ad or whatnot. You can see all that information directly in your ad account once this link between Callrail and your Google Ads account is set up. But more importantly, the algorithm is going to optimize your ads, because ultimately, if you bid on the keyword red shoes in your Google Ads account, Google will look at the 1,000+ different people who search for red shoes as a keyword, and based upon all the people that came to your site in the past, it'll understand who calls versus who doesn't call, and then in the future only have your ads show up for people that call, because you might sell, female shoes, and through the, whether somebody calls or not, and the past performance of all the people who have went to your site from that keyword in the past, it figures out that only females call, so only have your ad show up for females in that particular case. But it goes further than that. It looks at, a person's previous search behavior. What did they do before they made that search? Have they been to a competitor site or not? All these things contribute to Google ultimately understanding on a pretty high level who's going to be willing to call and who's not. And therefore, your ad should show up for somebody or not, even within the list of keywords that you presumably always want to show up for. So it's not an on or off thing whether you show up for a keyword. It's, does the person searching for that keyword, are they going to be likely to call? And if so, it'll show your ad, because Google wants to show ads that are relevant for the user so that people want to click on ads in the future because they got a good experience from Google the time that they did click on an ad. Then Google's system, in the process of trying to optimize their user experience for their users so they're more likely to click on ads in the future, you end up having your ad only show up for people who are more likely to turn into a customer in the future. Therefore, your ROI gets better, and ultimately you're able to scale your account more. And that's why, right there, you want to use call tracking every single time if you're doing lead generation and do it the right way, or even if you're selling products through an e-commerce site, if 10% or more of your customers are calling before they buy. Why 10%? Because if it's only like 1%, the gain you're going to get out of having that extra 1% of data isn't going to help you out that much, even though 1% more data is 1% more data. And actually, if you want to get specific about it, any calls that are going to turn into a customer offline, in that case, you'd want to use call tracking to get sales back online. Because why? Because a person that's more likely to buy more is more likely to call and buy that way. Because the more you spend, the more likely it is a human interaction must take place before the person's willing to drop that money. Because you might sell a $500 product. The average person who's going to be willing to spend $5,000 in a bulk purchase is going to be more likely to call, way more likely to call and put their purchase through the phone. Therefore, if you don't do call tracking and then get your sales that occur through the phone onto the ad account for the algorithm to optimize your ads with, then the algorithm is only going to optimize for small customers versus also really big customers that are way more profitable than average. So, and then with that call tracking, if people even are doing call tracking the right way, they're not tracking offline sales and using the benefit of the call tracking program to get sales that occur offline back into their ad account. which can give you incredible results. You're going to get way more results doing that for your business than only having the ad systems and the algorithms that run these ad systems on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatnot, to optimize what's getting you the lowest cost per phone call. The cheapest phone calls are never going to be the best, highest profitable ones, or should I say the ones that lead into the most revenue. So you can more accurately assess what the value of one keyword is over another based upon the quality of the call it brings in and the revenue that each call produces. And therefore, you're going to get more out of the ad platform as a whole, more sales at the ROI, the minimum ROI that you're looking for. So an offline conversion tracking to get a sale that occurs through the phone back into your ad account so you can use the ad algorithms can optimize your ads for more profit on an ongoing basis is really not that hard and the premise of how that works is basically Google has like a serial number for every click that comes through their system, which they call a Google Click ID. The call tracking program, Callrail, collects that Google Click ID. Once a month, you go ahead and you rectify looking at all the customers you had in the last month in your customer database with your Callrail account. Find the person who originally called in by listening to the call recordings, because during the call recording, they'll say who they are during the call at some point. Once you understand John Smith, here's the record in Callrail that shows John Smith called initially, and we know John Smith called over here from our customer list and our customer database. Then you can, under that same record in Callrail, you'll find that Google Click ID. You give that Google Click ID back to Google Ads, and now you can see where John Smith originally came in. What did he type in by keyword, or what keyword did he type in, what ad he clicked on, what audience he was on, what campaign he was in, how old he was, on and on and on and on. All that stuff you can use to optimize your ads a little bit more, and the algorithm can use to optimize your ads more. So if you want the full value out of call tracking, you track offline sales if not 100% of your sales are already occurring through and only through your website itself. Because naturally, if somebody calls in, but you are going to force them to go back to the website and buy, then the call tracking necessarily in that case wouldn't obviously offer you that much value. Personally, if you have a product that's selling for more than a couple $100, given that therefore a lot of people are going to call before they buy, I'm still going to do call tracking. Why? Because the call itself, even though maybe all of my sales go through the cart still, even if they call, we're sending them through the cart to complete the purchase, that call data is going to give us a micro conversion and some extra data that we can use to steer our campaigns with, because naturally, as we want to optimize for cart purchases, each keyword effectively might have to have 10 purchases for Google to assess the value of a keyword, whereas if we're collecting call data on top of our purchase data, we'll have a certain minimum threshold of data for us to assess the value of a keyword before we had enough purchase data to evaluate the value of a keyword. Therefore, we'll get more results sooner. Even though our goal eventually is to optimize purely off of sales and profit data, we'll use call data on the front end to get to the a fairly good result from our ad spend sooner in the process than we would have got otherwise, i.e. using micro conversions to guide our ads with. And that's a whole nother benefit of call tracking by itself, what it can do in the different types of situations that exist. So, but with that said, that's real call tracking. How it's done in modern day digital advertising, and how you're going to use it to make more money specifically, and how you can use it for all the benefit that you can get. That is tracking all your sales that occur offline, and you use that to steer your ads with. Tracking all the calls that come in the right way as well, in addition to that, and just tracking calls to provide a bit more extra data to steer your ads with, so you get more results sooner, like I talked about in the last example on this video. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully this made a lot of sense to you. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. If you are looking for the best information you could possibly find online on how to make millions of dollars running ads for your business, this is the channel you want to subscribe to, and you want to subscribe to it right now, as it's coming from somebody who does ad strategy all day long as my sole job, managing dozens of accounts at any given time to give you the direct information about what works and what doesn't work with your ads. And with that, most of the other information you find online and on YouTube about PPC and running ads is all just second, third-hand information. from people who don't actually run ads or they just sell courses or whatnot. So therefore you want to subscribe and you want to subscribe. Do not delay it and subscribe right now. You're not going to find better information other than what you find on this channel, I promise you. Second to that, I also have a blog that I write. You can find that at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step strategies on how to make a lot of money with online advertising for your business. If you like my channel, you'll love my blog even more. It has direct visuals and step-by-step information on how to make more money from your ads. So if you like the channel, you'll love that blog as well, and probably even more so. I actually run an ad agency here that's called Guaranteed PPC. What we do here is we offer to do, it's a done for your ad management service where we'll get you results on your ads for a fee, of course. Thing different though with our service other than every other service out there is that we do not charge our clients fees unless and until we can get them a certain minimum amount of results up front on their campaigns. The profit would have to go up from what you're generating in terms of what you're generating right now in terms of profit from your ads, of which will be in excess of what fees we charge. So you're basically only paying us out of the additional profit we're providing for you up front. There's no catch other than we got to know we can get great results with your campaigns up front. But if you want to see if we can work together in that kind of capacity, just simply reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about potentially working together. As a side, if you're not looking to work with an ad agency like mine, we also sell ad templates that work for a number of different markets we've worked in the past. We've worked in over 100 niche markets in the last 10 years of running Guaranteed PPC, of which if we worked in your niche market, it would be silly not to just use our ads and campaigns and landing page templates to get the same results we've got in your market just by copying and pasting everything we found out about your market into your ad account. It'll shortcut all the time and money spent of what we had to spend and go through to figure out what works in your market the best. So you don't have to do any of it, of which we'll sell to you for a one-time fee. You get the same results we're getting with none of the work. And so you just have to be in a different geographic area than our current or past client, and the same templates can be sold to you and you can use them there. So, and we got people using these templates, by the way, to start other businesses. It's like starting a business with training wheels on it. That is, if you get a template that works great in country A and you're in country B, you want to sell the same products in country B, just use the templates we used to sell the product in country A and it'll be turnkey results in country B. We got people using these templates to start lead generation businesses even, where if you want to sell, a great passive income business idea, you can take our ad templates that work to generate local carpentry service leads and sell those leads to other local carpenters and do so profitably because the campaign's so optimized, you can get the leads for way cheaper than the carpenters in that market can get them. Anyway, if you're interested in that type of opportunity, you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. But with that, I'll wrap everything up with that. Hopefully this video made a lot of sense to you. You out there and utilize the information, and I'll hopefully also see you on the next video where we have another great strategy for you then. See you later.